Okay, so let's talk about something called nested ifs. So nested ifs look a little bit different, but just remember, an if is just a statement like any other, right? So we can actually put them inside of each other. It's called nesting, which is kind of a funny name. Um, we can put one inside of another, right? So in the if body, let me delete that. This is just a statement, and we can put in more statements, including another if body. So we can put in more stuff in there. We don't have to just use one line, and we can put anything we want in here as long as this is a valid Python statement. So let's consider a situation where maybe it's raining. And when it's raining, maybe we want to say something different. Maybe we have different speed limits when it's raining. So you may want to write different messages based on whether it's raining or not, and whether people are over the speed limit or not. So first, let's take our method and let's add a new parameter called isRainy. And it's just going to be a Boolean. We haven't used this next thing I've actually shown you, but we haven't actually used it. There's a value called true and a value called false, which are keywords, but they evaluate to trues and false. And so we can actually pass as arguments trues and falses. And it's really just setting a Boolean value to true or false. So we're going to use that, and we're going to pass isRainy as a Boolean value. And so, for example, I can set that to a variable. isRainy equals true. isRainy printout is true. So we can actually store a Boolean value in a variable. And then we can use it inside an if statement. We can actually check that as our condition. And we don't actually have to compare it. It's either true or false already. So we're going to use that to determine if it's raining. So let me save some room here, and I'm going to say, if is rainy, we know if it's raining, you should slow down, right? And if speed, instead of 40, let's say 30. And the message now is drive safely, because they're actually driving safely, but we're just reminding them. And if they're driving too fast, we say it's rainy. And then we yell at them to slow down. So if it's raining, right, we really just want to write some extra text here to say, hey, slow down, please, please. We just want to be a little more adamant about them slowing down. And now we have an if statement in the body of an if statement. And again, the indentations still apply. This if is 4 tabbed over, as is this else. And then it has its own body inside of it. So we have that indentation going on inside of there. And then what if it's not rainy? If it's not rainy, then you know what? Let's just reuse everything else we have. If it's not rainy, then we go back to thank you and slow down. So if it's rainy is true, then we have a lower speed limit before we say something else. I mean, either way, we have 4 different statements, 4 different messages we're going to print. First, we decide if it's rainy or not, and then we do this one, or we decide it's not rainy, and we do this one. And by the way, this is starting to get clustered, a lot of little extra text kind of clustering together. If you want to add blank lines, you can add blank lines to make it more readable. Those blank lines inside of the function are going to be ignored, but it can make it easier to read. The reason it's being ignored is that Python actually cares more about the indentation than anything else. So even though there's a blank line, this if still belongs in the body because of its indentation. So let's save this. Let's run this. Again, now I have to actually use it. And if I type in speed message, you can't see it too well. Let me see if I can. Notice that's called IntelliSense. It's trying to tell me, hey, these are the parameters. Fill these in with a value for is rainy. Okay. Now fill in a value for speed. And it says drive safely. Or we can drive 35. Now 35 is normally fine, but if it's raining, we want them to slow down. So that actually used .35. Is raining was true. This was false. So it went down here and printed this. The first one was true, and did this one. Let's see. Now let's do 35, but it's not raining. So now we got thank you. So this was false. So we came to the else. This was true. So we said thank you. And the last case is not rainy, but 50 miles an hour. So false, come to the else. False, come to the else. Print slow down. So we have nesting going on in the body for each one of these things here. Like, so really just if statement is just a statement, and it can be nested inside other ifs. And you can put even more code in here, more statements, including more ifs. It's kind of like those Russian dolls where you have them inside of each other. You can have ifs inside of ifs inside of ifs, included inside of functions. And the only key component there is that you indent properly to know what's inside of what.